started with the next question, that is, you have to study the data given in the table and answer the questions that follow. So you have primary, secondary and tertiary sector. In organized sector, we have primary people in millions, that workers are 2 million. Unorganized is approximately, let's say, 240. I'm going to put it right here. In unorganized sector, it's 240. Then in secondary, it's 9. In unorganized, it's 54. Total comes out to be 63. Tertiary, 17. 76 and 93. So you have to follow, answer the questions that follow in this case. So the very first question here is, primary sector and especially unorganized sector is providing the most number. So if they ask the question that, I've skipped the question, which sector provides the most employment in this case. So in any case, you can see the unorganized sector, like I'm just gonna speak up the questions for you guys. So the very first question is, which sector provides the maximum number of employment to the people or jobs to the people? Anyway, you can see the unorganized sector is catering to the most chunk of the people, that's somewhere around 240 million people. The second question is, what is the total number of people working in unorganized sector in all the three sectors? You add people working in unorganized sector, the total is 370 million. And the last question is, has there been any increase in the trend of employment in organized sector? So yes, you can answer this, that the employment of opportunities in organized sector sort of has been expanding, like people have been going from primary to secondary and jumping onto the tertiary sector, but yet it's not at a very good rate or at a very good scale. It still needs improvement because we have to adjust people from this unorganized sector to this organized sector. So very easy set of 3 questions, just simple answers. And the fourth question is, which is the most important sector out of it? So the tertiary one is the most important organized sector. Of late we've also observed, see, the tertiary sector is going to be the most important sector, that's out of the 3 sector, which over the time is gaining a lot of importance, especially in its, I would say, organized component. So out of the 3 components in organized section, which sector is getting more importance? Yes, it is the tertiary sector. As the income levels rise, you can also address this issue, that as the income level rises, the people start demanding more services, and if they demand more services, that's going to increase the production capacity, and of course the cycle is going to get kick-started. Now, tertiary sector is not playing any significant role in development of Indian economy. Do you agree? Gives reasons in support of your answer. So they've asked if tertiary sector is not playing any significant role. I've just told you when I started with the video that tertiary sector has been growing in its importance. So there's a reference year with which you, for example, we generally compare our height, that this particular year we had this height and this year we've grown up to this level. So similarly, when I talk about the GDP levels of a country, so we compare the GDP with respect to base year. So earlier the base year with which we were comparing our GDP was considered to be 2004-5, but because at that time tertiary sector was not doing that well, of late it has done a tremendous work in its improvement. So that is why we had to change the base year to 2011 and 12, so that we can contribute and accept the contribution made by tertiary sector in raising the bar or the status of Indian economy. So this, I would probably say that we do not agree, because its contribution You have to support your answer because its contribution has been steadily increasing over the years as compared to agriculture and manufacturing sector. Service sector has been doing a brilliant job and added to the GDP levels over the span of last decade or 10 years. Okay, so let's start with the next question. The next question is, distinguish between open unemployment and disguised unemployment. So of course you guys know what disguised unemployment is. So unemployment, basically you have to give a definition to unemployment before you start with it. So unemployment is when you are willing to work but you're not getting job and you're not able to get yourself employed somewhere. So in this case they have asked you to distinguish between. So you have to first talk about the first section of the question, that is open unemployment. Guys, please don't make a mistake of writing all the points together in a paragraph, and that's not going to make any sense. So please segregate and differentiate. For example, it's going to be open employment. Yes, open employment is where the worker is ready to work but he is unable to find any work. It can be in any of the three sectors, may it be primary, may it be secondary, may it be tertiary. So in this case, is open to get hold of any opportunity, but this sort of employment is so visible that the person has to sit back at their places. Whereas when I talk about disguised, it's sort of the other name given to this is an hidden unemployment. So you can of course write disguised / hidden unemployment, which is mostly seen in agricultural sector, where a lot of people are employed, yet they seem to be employed but there is no improvement in the marginal productivity. So even if you take out 2 people, 3 people of the group of 5, it's not going to impact your productivity, it's going to stay the same. So it's sort of hidden somewhere. It's very opposite to the open unemployment. So it's like also known as surplus workers are engaged in a basic activity, and if they are removed, the production would not get impacted or it would not suffer anyway. Alright, so jumping on to the next question, what do you understand by, like we just discussed, and you have to explain with an example each from urban and rural areas. I just gave you the example of rural area where it can be seen in agriculture sector. We just discussed about disguised surplus mankind employment, or you can also it's also can be said it's in hidden unemployment. And a good example would be, for example, we talked about agricultural activities where instead of using 5 people, you are engaging 10 people on the same piece of land, and even if you remove or reduce the number of people who are employed, it's not going to impact your production. That's the example when I talk about the rural area. And in urban area also, if there's a construction activity, right, and you have a lot of people who are employed, underpaid, or not being paid to the optimum level, if you remove 3 to 4 of them, it's not going to impact the pace at which they are working at the construction site. So it's one example from the urban and one example from the rural area would serve the purpose. Talking about the next question, how is tertiary sector different from other sectors? Illustrate with few examples. So this question needs to be attended or given special attention, that how is this sector different? So this sector is different because this is related more with the intangible activities. Like you have some sort of services available, but you can't feel them, you can't touch them, you know that you've been provided that service. It can be like communication, transportation, banking, insurance, health and stuff like that. So yes, it is also known as the service sector, related to trade, transportation, communication, where people are employed, and it sort of supports the primary and the secondary structure. So these activities, they themselves in a tertiary sector would not produce a good, but rather they support the production process that's already taking place either in primary, and would probably increase their efficiency and also provide all the necessary knowledge, back-end support. So yes, over the years it has become a very important backbone for the development of the country, and its progress is dependent on the progress of primary and secondary sector. So you have to illustrate it with the example. For example, the service sector is different from primary sector, which includes all economic activities, because primary sector is related to the nature. You have exploitation, you have extraction, production of the natural resources. But in tertiary sector, it's also different from the secondary sector, because secondary sector is like converting what you get from the primary, processing it and manufacturing it, or maybe extracting what you get at the primary stage and converting it into some other product. So like I said, in tertiary sector you have to underline, what you can underline in this is, in tertiary sector these activities do not produce a good. The primary activity, primary here is connected with extraction, the second important point. The secondary sector is involved, includes activities concerned with activities that are concerned with processing or manufacturing of goods. So you can underline this important point. So you've clearly, with the help of examples, you've clearly differentiated of the difference between tertiary and secondary sector, tertiary and primary sector, and in this paragraph you've explained what do you understand by tertiary sector. Okay, that's all for this questionnaire setup.